Welcome back to 𝐸, everyone. So again, going over my daily plan on exactly how I plan on playing into this SPY. Again, we are leading into tomorrow's Fed rate hike. Jerome Powell will be speaking 30 minutes after our Fed rate hike data comes out. Again, our prior 3 rate hikes have been at 75-point bases. We're wondering if we are going to have a possible decrease in Fed rate hikes to a possible 50-point base rate hike, or if we are going to get a possible increase in Fed rate hikes, since we have not got major decreases in inflation and major increases in unemployment that Powell has been looking for. Where exactly may we be headed next? What are the 2 levels that we may be headed next to if Jerome Powell were to continue on with this pivot that Rick Timmeros again mentioned a couple weeks ago on this major green candle from? Or are we going to continue on lower and get that false breakout like we had prior with jobs reports and with CPI? Again, getting that anticipation and getting that possible false breakout. Are we going to continue on lower? What are the levels we're looking for from here? Now, before I jump into this, if you guys can do me a huge favor, smash that like button if you find this video useful at all. Hit subscribe if you want to see my daily plan on exactly how I plan on playing into the market every single day. We go over candle structure, overall strength, levels, and any key indicators that we need to be focused on. And again, if you are a day trader or you are looking for very volatile breakouts that we mention every single day in the Instables, and again, we mention any breakout that is worth looking at throughout the day, go to instables.com in the description below, and you will never miss a breakout alert today again. So jumping into the daily chart with you guys here on the SPY, I wanted to go over our overall picture here since we could have a major move coming in higher or lower. What are the levels that we are looking for and why are we looking for them? Again, we do have our trend line that we have been tracking. If we do continue on higher, this will be our possible resistance. We will be looking for confirmation on a bullish candle structure from here to see if we can continue on above this channel. Again, if Powell does pivot, again, we are leading into midterms. So the narrative here is that Powell could pivot leading into next week's midterms. However, the bearish case would be that Jerome Powell was just panicking about inflation reports. We haven't got that much of a decrease in inflation reports. Again, CPI has not been anything significant. Again, we got that false breakout when we did have our CPI, and then we had our jobs reports, got that false breakout, having a pullback. So if our data is speaking for us, then Jerome Powell will not ignore that data, and we will not have a Fed pivot, and he will not possibly mention a possible Fed pivot leading into our next Fed rate hike. And the reason why he may not mention that is because, again, we do not have data that is convincing, in my opinion, based on what he has been mentioning. But however, leading into next week's midterms, again, the speculative move would be that he would possibly pivot. And again, in my opinion, that's not much of a pivot. That is decreasing in rates with no data on what he wanted to see for that decrease in rates. So again, we need to keep that in mind. So again, leading into tomorrow, we'll see what Powell has to say. Truly, there's definitely no way that we can know exactly what he's going to mention. But one thing that we do know is that we have not got data that he did mention that he did need. Now, jumping into our MACD here, again, this is our strength. Again, we do have our EMA lines that are crossing above the median of MACD. Again, typically this would be the rally that we're looking for. Again, we had the largest rally of the year when we did have our EMA lines crossing above the median of MACD. Again, anticipating that we possibly do have a Fed pivot. However, if we do not get that Fed pivot and our data does speak louder than midterms do next week, then we could have a possible decrease in buy pressure and look to see if we do continue on lower, or if we digest and we have that possibility of a decrease in rates leading into our next Fed rate hike, depending on what Powell says. Again, Powell could totally come out and say that we're having a 75-point base rate hike. However, next meeting that we could possibly have a 50-point base rate hike, which could give us that anticipation leading into our next Fed rate hike and possibly continue on with this rally. And then our EMA lines could possibly just have a curl down and a possible continuation on with this rally that we're looking for to the upper end of our channel that we're looking for. Now, for those of you that do not know, tomorrow's Fed rate hike is at 2 o'clock Eastern time, and Jerome Powell speaks 30 minutes after at 2:30 Eastern time. We're going to see if he does mention that possible decrease in rates, see if we get that possible outlook leading into our next Fed rate hike as a possible decrease in rates. And again, the market will react as a pivot. However, if bad data comes after that pivot, where we may be headed next, how will we hold? That's going to be the question if we do have a pivot going into tomorrow. So again, keeping an eye on CPI coming into the next couple weeks after our Fed rate hike tomorrow is going to be very key, even if we do have this possible decrease in Fed rate hikes leading into next week's midterms. So we're going to see exactly what happens. Again, just keeping an eye on this data. Now, also keeping an eye on our candle structure. Again, if we do continue on lower, if Powell does mention that we have a possible increase in Fed rate hikes to come, again, the ECB mentioned today that there's no telling how much increases in Fed rate hikes they need to do. So if Powell has the same tone, if he mentions anything along the same lines, then this anticipation very much can have a pullback. As you guys can see prior, we had a rally, again, the largest rally that we had of the year when we broke above the median over MACD at this point. We did have that major pullback on that anticipation, and now we are looking to see if we do get that confirmation this time around, or if data is going to speak for itself, since we have not had, again, major decreases in CPIs and major increases in unemployment like Powell has been mentioning. We'll see exactly what happens going into tomorrow. Again, I hope you guys have a nice evening, and I hope you guys do stay blessed. Now, again, with that said, if you guys are day traders or you guys are looking for very volatile breakouts, we mention them every single day in the Instabills room. Go to instabills.com in the description below, and you will never miss a breakout alert today again. And again, all of you Instabills that come over every single day and support the channel, I appreciate you guys. We're going to see what Powell has to say tomorrow. If he does give us that decrease in rates, or are we going to get that confirmation on data that we have been getting? We'll see exactly what happens. And again, if you guys do like this video, it does help the channel grow, and I do appreciate it very much. And again, God bless you all, and I'll see you guys in pre-market.